Your experience, CBS News.
Violent sex offenders. Their numbers are growing. Some will be executed. Some will be released after treatment.
If we can effectively treat one rapist, is that not a good investment of our money?
But can they really be rehabilitated? Eye on America's investigation continues tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
The people of CBS News. Dan Rather.
Connie Chung.
Mike Wallace.
Paula Zahn.
Ed Bradley.
Leslie Stahl.
Harry Smith.
Morley Safer.
Bob Schieffer.
And Charles Kuralt. Experience.
CBS News.
This is CBS.
46 Eyewitness News is next. A Salinas chiropractor arrested for murder after his friend dies from a heroin overdose.
We meet the newest member of the Affirmative Action Task Force. She'll represent the gay and lesbian community.
That controversial tree that's threatening a Carmel home goes before the city council, so to speak.
And Fort Ord troops begin their move to Fort Lewis this week. All the news next.
Now, live from 46 KMST TV for the Central Coast, with news anchors Gary Lindsay, Adrian Laurent, Wes Sims in Santa Cruz, sports with Hunter Fennell, and Alan Richmond with weather. This is 46 Eyewitness News at 6.
Putting out oxygen, it would bring about the greatest...
1,500 pounds of marijuana seeds are handed back to their owner. Good evening. It is the end of a long legal battle involving a Santa Cruz marijuana activist.
We'll have more on that story in just a minute, but first our top story tonight, and that's the move. The move begins this week. The first wave of Fort Ord soldiers will ship out to Fort Lewis, Washington within the next few days. Our Denise Valdez has been on that story. She joins us now with a live report from Fort Ord. Denise?
Well, Gary and Adrian, we've known about this move for about 2 years, that Fort Ord soldiers will be moving out to Fort Lewis and Tacoma, Washington. We planned for it, and many of us have dreaded it, but the departure date is finally here for at least about 200 of these soldiers. Now, this advance party is made up of both single and married soldiers. Now, once they arrive at Fort Lewis, it'll be their job to start preparing for the rest of the troops that should be arriving in about 3 phases over the coming year. Now, we caught up with one of the members of this advance party, Chief Warrant Officer Delmar Dewey, and he says he's looking forward to the challenges.
To get things organized, get the buildings that we need for everyone, and to see everybody come there. It's going to be a challenge to see if we can get it set up so that it will be smoother for the people that get there, because we're trying to get rid of any of the problems.
Now, Officer Dewey will act as a troubleshooter for his unit, but he also realizes that the community he's leaving behind may need some troubleshooting of its own. When we talked to him today, he touched upon the economic problems.
I think people are going to find out that there are military personnel reaching out to farther than they think. It's not just associated right there at Marina and Seaside. And it's going to, you know, we're having a tough year anyways, so it's just going to be tough for everyone all over.
Well, that goes without saying. We also spoke to a member of the Chamber of Commerce here in town, and he says now that the troops are actually heading out, it's starting to sink in. Fort Ord is closing, but the community here says they're going to turn a negative into a positive, and they're going to look at this as an opportunity to really grow. Gary, Adrian?
Denise, a lot of soldiers and their families who are moving out are looking forward to a much more affordable economy in Washington State. Isn't that correct?
Well, that's what they say. Now, right now, the housing in Tacoma is pretty reasonable, but they're smart out there. They know they've got a big demand for housing out there, and already the prices are starting to increase, so it looks like the sooner you get there, the better.
All right. We thank you for that report, Denise.
Thanks, Denise. A Salinas chiropractor is behind bars tonight, arrested for the murder of his quadriplegic friend. Police say Keith McGotti killed Jeff Hawley with heroin. It all allegedly took place at Hawley's home in Salinas on December 21st. Police say it had to have been McGotti that administered the fatal dose of heroin.
Nobody else was there. He was the last one there. There was no way Hawley could ingest this himself. He was a quadriplegic, so somebody had to help him take the drugs.
Police ruled out the possibility of a mercy killing because Hawley seemed to be in good spirits, they say, and was not suicidal. His next-door neighbor agreed.
Person, if your day was going bad, he'll always try to cheer you up. If his day is going bad, he'll like ask you questions and everything. He's a real nice Christian person.
Magadi, shown here in a high school photo, is a Salinas native. Police say he and Holly were longtime friends. Magadi is a partner in a chiropractic office in Salinas. Employees there had no comment on the arrest. Holly apparently had been a quadriplegic since a swimming accident in 1985. A Santa Cruz man who goes about the county preaching the benefits of hemp now has 1,500 pounds of sterilized hemp seeds, courtesy of narcotic agents in San Benito County. The seeds belonged to Alan Brady in the first place. Our Wes Sims has more on the story from our newsroom in Santa Cruz. Wes?
Adrian, this was reminiscent of a drug deal today, with narcotics agents meeting Alan Brady in a parking lot and handing him back his hemp seeds. The seeds themselves are legal because they've been sterilized. But early last year, Brady was arrested on other drug charges and his seeds confiscated. Authorities in San Benito County became involved when Brady brought the seeds to Hollister to have them cleaned. Brady was acquitted of the drug charges in Santa Cruz. The judge ordered the seeds returned to him.
Desire very much to go into Santa Cruz because of the liberal justice system there, so it's very difficult to get good convictions and cases upheld. This case here, if it perhaps had been held in San Benito County or San Fernando County, would have been upheld because some liberal judges that were kicked out.
I'm very happy about it. You know, it's like I don't have the attitude of like thumbing my nose to the police or anything like that. I don't have that attitude. My whole thing is just to educate people.
Do you eat this just plain, or do you cook it with other things?
It tastes great just plain. It tastes great pan roasted. Give a little crunchier cooked taste to it. Mostly what we've been doing is grinding it up and putting it in bread.
Brady hopes to raise some money to get some production going so that he can realize his dream of not only seeing the seeds used for food, but for industrial purposes also. Also from here, jury selection is underway in the murder trial of a Watsonville man. 40-year-old Thomas John Roderick is accused of robbing, then killing 69-year-old Francis Wall inside his mobile home in Watsonville. Roderick is said to have bludgeoned the old man to death, then stole his Pinto station wagon. The suspect loaned the car to his roommate. That man was arrested when the car was spotted in Pajaro, just inside Monterey County. The roommate was eventually released with no charges filed. Jury selection will be wrapped up possibly as early as tomorrow. And I apologize, Gary and Adrian. We've got an audio buzz coming out of Santa Cruz tonight.
Sure yeah, we do, Wes. We'll pull on the tin can and tighten the connection there. We thank you. Gays and lesbians now have a representative in Monterey County government. For the first time, an openly gay or lesbian person was this morning appointed to the Affirmative Action Task Force. Jennifer Padrone says she's excited about her new responsibility. She says she hopes to form a subcommittee and focus on education in Monterey County.
I think this is certainly the next issue, and it's something that needs to be addressed. It's educating people on basic human and civil rights.
Padrone is the proper pronunciation, is a founding member of the Monterey County Lesbian Gay Task Force and the Bay Municipal Elections Committee. Adrian?
Well, after 2.5 days, Highway 1 south of Big Sur reopened to travelers about 2:30 this afternoon. The highway has been closed since early Sunday morning when rains triggered a major rock slide. Now the rocks are gone and some damage to the highway structure has been repaired. The work involved workers with special mountaineering skills. Caltrans is advising travelers to drive with caution. A severe storm is expected tonight, and that could mean even more dangerous rock slides. Gary?
Well, this latest winter storm that's moving in is going to bring some much-needed rain to our area, but drought experts at the Water Resources Agency continue to say we still have a lot of catching up to do. Most of the rain we've had has been soaked up by the ground, and there hasn't been much runoff into our streams and reservoirs. Both Lake Nacimiento and San Antonio are still way below their average water levels. Nacimiento is only at 12% of its capacity so far, and San Antonio is even worse off, only reaching 8% of its potential.
Well, coming up next, Carmel City Council casts votes for and against a tree.
And trees are the subject of Sharon Tay's 46 on Your Side report tonight. She'll tell you how to get dangerous Monterey pines removed.
What's happening and why? Now you can know. Because there's a show called Real News for Kids. From the latest trends, world events, what's hot? You'll get the big story on Real News for Kids. News from your point of view. It's your world, too. And this show's for you. Real News for Kids.
Sunday mornings at 7 on 46 KMST TV.
A tree versus house controversy in Carmel is over tonight. The controversy generated nationwide attention when the Carmel Forest and Beach Commission refused to let the tree be cut down. The tree's root system is reportedly doing major damage to this house on Monterey Street. Its owner, Peter Levy, appealed the commission's decision to the city council.
There's a particular affinity for trees in Carmel, which I share, but which, when carried beyond the bounds of reason, creates a hardship for people.
Several residents urged the city council to find a way to save both the tree and the house, but the city council agreed the best alternative would be to cut it down.
I would not want to live in that house and have that hanging over my head.
Peter Levy is being asked to harvest seed from the tree's pine cones and replant at least 2 seedlings. Gary?
Well, that incident in Carmel is just one example of how a home can be damaged by a tree. With the recent rains and more on the way, dozens of Monterey pines are falling down. They're causing hazards for Central Coast residents. Our 46 on Your Side reporter Sharon Tay joins us now live in the newsroom on how you can prevent pine trees from falling on your house. How do you do it, Sharon?
That's right, Gary. Foresters say the weather is causing Monterey pine trees to fall. They have become so brittle from the drought and the rain that they're literally crumbling inside. That's why it's so important to get rid of the trees before they cause major damage. The drought and rains have made Monterey pine trees vulnerable. So weak, they're a potential threat to you and your property.
The problems that we face with the storms, again, the trees are shallow-rooted. You get a lot of moisture in the ground. Normally we get the winds that follow. So the trees themselves are easily toppled, and normally they take out the power lines, and that's where our concern is.
Here's how you can tell if the Monterey pine near your house is at risk of falling. Look for shifting or leaning. You can also tell if a Monterey pine is dead when all the branches and needles have fallen off the tree. Although appearance may be a sign a tree is dying, don't be fooled, because looks can also be deceiving.
If you look at it from the outside, it looks like it's a really nice tree. But once you get on the inside there, you can see all the damage.
As a result, these trees become weak and brittle, and it won't take much rain or wind to bring it down. But if you refuse to wait for nature to run its course, keep in mind, Monterey pines are endangered, and it is illegal to chop them down. Instead, you have to obtain permits from your city forester's office to have the tree removed.
A contract employee we use to do tree assessment would come out, meet with the individual, address their concern, assess the condition of the tree, and either issue a permit or not, depending on the tree's condition.
And once you get the permit, it will take you about 60 days to remove the tree, and it's all free of charge. Gary?
Sharon, how long does that permit process take?
That all depends. It varies from city to city. In some cases, about a week. But then again, every city, as you saw in the case of Carmel, has different rules on removing Monterey pine trees. So what you want to do is call the city forester and ask questions about removing the pine tree that you think may be hazardous near your home. Gary?
And why is it so tough in Carmel as opposed to other areas on the peninsula?
As I said before, every city has different rules. Monterey pine trees are endangered trees, therefore everyone is very careful about removing these types of vegetation from the Monterey Peninsula. In some cases, such as Monterey, for instance, if you do have a pine tree, Monterey pine tree, if you get it removed, you have to replace it with something else. So as I said before, every city has different rules, and then again, you have to check with your city forester to make sure what applies to you.
So make sure you're doing the right and legal thing.
Exactly.
All right. We thank you for that report. It affects a lot of people, Sharon. Thanks.
Alan's coming up to fill us in about the upcoming storm.
And it was a coat drive of epic proportions. We bring you the clean results of our holiday drive after this. Thousands of homeless people are going to be just a little bit warmer this winter season with the help of 2,000 coats donated by the people of the Central Coast. These coats were cleaned by the inmates of Soledad Prison and were picked up this afternoon by the Salvation Army to be distributed throughout the area.